Hello, my name is Ashlyn Spowart, and I am presenting this project proposal to my family as the project manager for our Italian vacation. Some background as to why we chose Italy and what the vacation is and why this project. We as a family have found that it is harder and harder to come together as a family and go on a vacation. And when we do go on these vacations, it's usually something local. It's nothing too crazy and out of the ordinary. And usually it's only for a few days as everyone has busy schedules and live in different cities. So we decided that we would be traveling to Italy in October of 2020 to really get that family time that everyone has been needing. So the overall purpose is to spend time with our family, and Italy has always been on our family bucket list, and we just haven't had a real good reason to go. But now that everyone's growing up and it's getting harder and harder to spend time together, we decided that it would be perfect to go. This will be a 10-day trip to Rome and Venice, and it will be a strict $13,000 budget, which is slightly ambitious, but we think that with proper cost-saving techniques, we will be able to do this. Those traveling include my mom, Becky, my dad, Tom, my older brother, Alex, and my younger brother, Andrew, and myself. And this vacation is planned to take place in October of 2020. So this is a brief project charter. The success criteria and benefits include satisfaction from all family members by the end of the trip, newfound appreciation for Italian culture, and updated family values. So what is meant by updated family values. We want to take our newfound appreciation for the Italian culture, take what we've learned from the Italian culture, and kind of incorporate that into our family values. So things like slowing down the speed of life and just enjoying the small moments with our family is something that the people in Italy are very passionate about and something that we think we could really use in our family. So taking different things that we've learned and incorporating them into our family values and just our everyday life would be a huge success criteria to show that we had a good trip and that we've really immersed ourselves in the Italian culture. And that would also be a benefit because we would be able to bond through these experiences that we've created together and incorporate that into our family. The deliverables include the itinerary of the trip, including flight times, lodging, locations, and all activities for each city. A corresponding budget will be presented as a deliverable with the itinerary so that everyone knows how much we're spending on each different thing and that we can all be on the same page. And finally, there will be monthly updates on the planning process just to allow everyone to know where we are, what things have been reserved, what still needs to be done, and things like that. Listed here are a set of high-level schedule of milestones for the trip. They start with creating a baseline project plan in May, and then throughout June, we want to book flights for all 5 people, book lodging for all 5 people, and start to book activities and excursions for the trip. Then in September, we want to prepare accommodations for our pets and household. We want to complete our family trip in October. And then finally, we want to have an evaluation of the family trip at the end of October to see how everyone liked it, if we would ever do something like this again, and what we would or would not change about the trip. A quality control plan should be created in order to prevent poor quality and avoid quality problems. Some tools and techniques that we can use to create a quality control plan include the itinerary and the corresponding budget. These can be used to maintain an accountability and a certain level of quality throughout the entirety of the trip. There are also certain government standards that we have to be aware of, including having the appropriate travel documents when traveling, including passports. My younger brother does not have a passport, so it is imperative that we apply for and receive his passport in plenty of time prior to the trip. We also have to be aware that if a passport is 6 months or less to expiring, you are not allowed to travel out abroad. So we have to ensure that everyone else's passport is not going to expire 6 months prior to when we want to travel. There are also certain airport standards in Italy that we have to be aware of, and certain laws and regulations at ancient Italian attractions that we have to be aware of as well. We have to make sure that we're not taking pictures of anything that we shouldn't be taking pictures of, or touching something that we're not allowed to touch. So we have to just be knowledgeable and accountable for our actions. There are also certain traveling standards that we should be aware of, including notifying our banking firm that we are traveling internationally in case anything happens and we get pickpocketed, which is a high probability. They know that we're traveling in Italy. They know which cities we are traveling to, and if a transaction happens in a different city that we aren't in, they would know. But also just to know that we're traveling abroad so that there aren't any fraudulent behaviors they think are fraudulent but really aren't, and that there are no hidden fees. And finally, delayed or canceled flights. In the case of this, it is imperative for our family to stay together and reconfigure the trip and make a backup plan in case any of these things happen. A work breakdown structure is a hierarchical decomposition of the project work scope into work packages that produce the project deliverables. So basically, this takes the project and breaks it down into manageable parts, and then it shows who is responsible for each part throughout the entirety of the trip. We have a responsibility assignment matrix here, and this just shows who is primarily responsible, which is the bolded P, for each activity, and who has the support, which is the regular S, for that activity. So if someone is primarily responsible, we can look at the responsibility assignment matrix, see who's responsible, and then see if they need help, who would their support be. A network diagram shows the necessary sequence and dependent relationships of the detailed activities that need to be performed to achieve the project's objective. On the left, you'll see the network diagram, and on the right, you'll see a key that corresponds with the numbered boxes for the network diagram to explain which box means what. A project schedule is shown below in Gantt chart form, and a Gantt chart is basically a bar chart that is showing the estimated duration of each task, which is represented by a bar, and that is placed along a horizontal timeline. This is to help the project and all the members keep track of the duration of the project, who's responsible for what, how long it should take them, when they should start planning, and things like that. The Gantt chart above shows the project schedule from the end of May till August of 2020, and then the project schedule or Gantt chart below that shows from September until October of 2020. It was hard to fit them all on the screen, but we wanted to make sure that everything was included, so that's why there are two separate pictures. A resource sheet allows a user to enter information about their required resources for their specific project. So here we have entered all of the resources that we think we will need to successfully complete our project, and they're all listed and have the appropriate type, which is either work, cost, or material, and they have the specific cost that is also associated with them. The resource cost usage, this shows how we are using the resources against our baseline, but since we have not started planning yet, none of these resources have been used, so it makes sense. But this is just to show that whenever we start planning, this will keep track of the resources as they are being used. Same with the cash flow. This shows our baseline cash flow, and basically it's a little over $13,000 because we have a reserve amount factored in case of an emergency, but we are hoping not to have to use that. So we want to stay as close to the $13,000 budget as possible, but in case of an emergency, we have that extra cushion if we need it. The expected family work hours chart is a way to show who is responsible for what and how long it should take them compared to the baseline, so we can keep track of how long each person is taking to do their assigned activities. As you can see, Becky, my mom, has the most amount of hours because she's responsible for the most things, but we are not worried that she will not be able to get it done. We think that it's spread out along a big enough time frame that she'll be able to have plenty of time to get it done. Some identified risks that could occur during our trip include bad weather, getting pickpocketed, family health, delayed or canceled flights, not behaving appropriately at ancient Italian sites, and going over the predetermined budget. The identified risk that carries the most weight is getting pickpocketed, as this is the highest likelihood of occurrence and the highest degree of impact. Going to Italy, there is a definite risk about getting pickpocketed, and usually American tourists are targeted. So we have to make sure that we have a response plan in place in case of emergency, and this is where we would have that reserve budget in case of this event. We have that extra money hidden somewhere so that we aren't completely at a loss. We at least have something else, and that's why we decided to incorporate that reserve budget into our overarching budget. By following the schedule, budget, and resource allocations shown throughout the presentation, the vacation should run smoothly and the family should have memories that will last a lifetime. Thank you.